Yo. This video was requested by somebody in the comment section. They asked, how do you drive through the snow, through the ice, and also how do you drive through the mountains? As far as snow, you kind of got to do that at your own discretion. I'm used to it. I grew up in this type of weather, so all depends, you know what I'm saying? I can handle driving in the snow overall, but like if it's ice on the ground, even like when it's snow, like I say, man, I grew up in this shit, so you can tell certain things, like when it rain and the degrees and what's the possible freezing point, like if it rain or if it's sleet and it get 20 degrees and below, I start getting scared. You know what I'm saying? But ice, I don't fuck with it. I'm not driving on no ice, ever. Never. I did it before, and it wasn't a good experience. Probably one of the most scariest experiences of my life in this trucking shit. Driving on ice. Matter of fact, I'm driving north, excuse me, going north on 65. Close by, somewhere probably in between Lowell, Indiana and Crown Point. And trying to get home, it was black ice on the ground. And this was happening as I was driving, you know what I'm saying? So it was black ice on the ground, and yeah, man, my trailer jackknifed from side to side. And luckily it wasn't nobody else on the road with me. But the trailer jackknifed from side to side, man. Straight twerked on me. Scariest feeling. One of them. So ever since then, I don't play with ice. And if I was you, whoever is asking this question or is concerned about that, newer drivers, less experienced drivers, hey man, whatever weather conditions that it is, if you don't feel comfortable driving on this shit, don't do it. If you got to call dispatch, you got to call after hours, you'll get out of jail free card. Well, not get out of jail free card, but when you tell them that you don't feel safe, you fear for your safety in certain weather conditions, and you don't feel safe to drive, you know what I'm saying? They supposed to give you a pass, not still try to pressure you to go out and do some shit. And this is why it's important to keep your CDL clean. Try to keep your CDL clean as best as possible, because if you with a company and you dealing with dispatchers or whoever that don't respect your discretionary judgment when it comes to driving in certain conditions, man, leave. You know what I'm saying? Or people get because my thing is, certain things is non-negotiable. There's no discussion. You don't feel safe driving. If a dispatcher is really trying to force you to drive on ice, they might not even be human, dog. They might not even be human. You tell a dispatcher, hey man, there's ice on the ground and I don't feel safe. I fear for my safety driving on this ice. You know what I'm saying? They supposed to fall back. But if you got somebody trying to pressure you, man, like, that's why it's good to keep your CDL clean. Because if you don't feel comfortable working at that company or whatever company it is, you can always go to another one. But like as far as snow, that's discretionary, man. I've driven through snow. I've driven through a snowstorm through West Virginia. I've driven through snow. You know what I'm saying? I've driven the wintertime every year I've been in trucking. And I kind of know how to gauge it. You know what I'm saying? I kind of know how to gauge like what the road looking like, the weather outside. I grew up in the snow, grew up in this shit, so I kind of know texture. You know what I'm saying? How it's looking when it's falling, all that shit. So that's something that you got to gauge. But if you don't feel safe, don't do that shit. You know, because it's not worth it for you not to feel safe driving through certain weather conditions, man, and you get into an accident and you fuck some shit up. Now it's gonna be on you. You know what I'm saying? Now your CDL finna be fucked up. It ain't worth it. Another thing, when it comes to ice, you gotta be careful with that too, man, because sometimes, you know, maybe it rained, or maybe it was hot. Not hot, but, you know, after it had snowed and shit like that, maybe one day, while it was snow outside, it was 50 degrees, so the snow stars will melt. Maybe it was 50 degrees early in that day, and then later on the day it starts going below 20 degrees and getting into the teens and shit, man. You got to be careful. You got to pay attention to shit like that. And if you're not sure if the ground is wet or if it's ice on the ground, you always got to be looking at the cars passing you up, or cars and trucks in front of you. If they rolling in front of you, you don't know for sure if it's ice on the ground, and if you don't see a spray, water coming up from behind their rear tires, and it's wet on the ground, park. That's ice. Park that shit, fam. Try to find you somewhere to park immediately. That's what I would do. Cause yeah, it could be days to where, like I say, like right now, it's snow outside, or where I'm at, it's snow. So one day, beginning of the day, it can get real warm, and that warm weather will melt the snow, and then the ground will be wet, and then it might get cold later on at night. You know, depending on how cold it get, it could turn that water on the road to ice. You gotta be careful. Always be watching this shit. So yeah, man, I wouldn't drive on ice. Like I say, man, if you don't feel comfortable driving in certain weather conditions, hey man, hit your DM up, hit the after hours up, and just tell them, hey, this and that going on. I don't feel safe driving in these weather conditions. When they clear the road, I'll give you an ETA when I'm gonna be arriving wherever you going to, ship or receiver. That's that. You know, I get it. Some people be afraid to lose their jobs. You don't want to go back and forth with them. But let me tell you something. When you crash, it's going to be you that's going to be affected, not the DM. So, better think about that. As far as driving through mountains, I've drove through some mountains. I drive through mountains. You know, I drive through mountains a lot. Definitely got experience driving through mountains. My best advice driving through the mountains, man, learn how to use your engine brake. Learn how to use your engine brake in combination with your tractor brakes. And you want to use your engine brake to help preserve using your truck brakes. You know, that's how you, without using them trailer brakes, especially like when you new, you still got to find your groove. But if you're just going down declines and you just keep pressing and pressing and pressing on the brakes, that's how you smoke your brakes out. And you can keep pressing and pressing till your brakes catch on fire. Don't ask me how I know. Don't even ask me how I know. Maybe one day I'll talk about it. Well, you know what? No, we're gonna talk about it now. It makes sense. Makes sense to talk about it now. Yeah, that's when I was working for Swift, and I had to go to a terminal somewhere in Pennsylvania. You know, going through Pennsylvania, you going through mountainous territory, declines, inclines. And once I got off the road, I got to the light to where I was about to make a left to go down the street to the terminal, and truck was on fire. Not whole truck, but the wheel, yeah, drive tires was on fire. Somebody had to point it out to me. I didn't know. So, you know, people stopping, everybody looking, fire truck pulled up, they put it out. You know, I was able to limp the truck down the street to the terminal, And probably like a day and a half later, they just put me in a new truck. They didn't say nothing. They didn't ask me no questions or give me no type of corrections. Well, was it they didn't ask me nothing. I didn't know. I'm thinking that it's a malfunction with the truck. But years later, another time I almost smoked my brakes out. And before my brakes caught on fire, I think I was going, years later, this second time I was going down Montego in Kentucky. I think it's on high. If somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's on I-24. But yeah, I smoked my brakes out and I had to stop. You start smelling that rubber. When you start smelling that burnt rubber, that's you. Smoking your brakes out, especially when you going up declines and going down declines and going up inclines and shit, and you in the mountainous territory, you start smelling that burnt rubber smell. That's probably you. Most likely it's you. So at that time, I pulled over and let the brakes sit. I let the truck sit and let the brakes cool off. And glad I caught it before it caught on fire. Like the shit caught on fire when I worked at Swift. But see, the shit that happened at Swift, once again, during and probably sometime after this Montego situation, I realized, I'm like, I did this shit. It was me. But I didn't know it was me. Swift, when the brakes caught on fire, I didn't know it was me. I thought it was a truck malfunction. But later on, I realized what it was because I wasn't using my trailer brake or my engine brake like I was supposed to. I just kept pressing on the brake. You can't be pressing on the brakes going down declines like you driving in the city. Like you driving in a metropolitan area, like you driving in New York or Chicago, Atlanta. You can't keep pressing on the brakes going down the mountain. So my best advice, when you about to go down a decline, most of the time you're gonna see signs. You're gonna see the truck sign going down the decline sign, and they might have a sign, truckers go in lower gear, and it'll have a percentage or whatever the decline is. But what I usually do, as soon as I know I'm finna go down the decline, I go in a lower gear, which for me is 9th gear because I got a 10-speed, so I go in 9th gear, put that trailer brake, I keep saying trailer brake, but put that engine brake on, and I already know what speed that I'm comfortable letting the truck cruise at with the engine brake on. It's 55 for me. So whatever, you got to figure out whatever speed is comfortable for you. So 55 for me. And, you going down a decline, your speed of course is going to pick up. And your RPM is going to pick up too. I try not to let my RPMs go past 17. Definitely don't. I try not to let my RPMs go to 20. But you got to keep an eye on that too. And, so as the miles per hour is going up, for me, if it touched 65, that's when I'm hitting the brake, and I'm giving a nice strong push on the brake, and I'm holding it till the needle go all the way back up to 55, maybe 50 sometime. Take your foot off the brake. Keep cruising with the trailer brake, engine brake. I keep saying trailer brake with the engine brake on, and just keep riding like that till you get down to the bottom. You know what I'm saying? You should not be using your tractor brakes. Just constantly pressing on them while you're going down the decline, because you're smoking your brakes out. You're making your brakes hot, and they will catch on fire. So, yeah. I know it could be scary going down the mountains and shit, but yeah, man, you gotta be careful with that shit. I think about that one trucker, or that one truck driver. This was like some years ago, a few years ago. I don't know if this guy was Middle Eastern or what, but this was the guy. I think he was in Colorado, or one of them West Coast one of them West Coast mountains, and he was coming down a mountain and was coming all the way down, and I guess he lost control. I don't know. He probably smoked, you know what I'm saying? He lost control, and he hit and he killed. He fucked some shit up, killed people, all that different type of shit. That shit was fucked up, but he survived. Why is the people that always cause the fucking accidents be the ones surviving? That's crazy, but I don't know what happened to him. I think he went to jail. I don't know what exactly happened with the story. Maybe I had to go back and look into it. But all I can think of, man, you know, especially when you're going through Colorado, you know what I'm saying? The Rockies, I-70. I've never been through the Rockies, but I've been through, you know, took that long ride from Chicago, I-80, through all that West, Utah, and all that different type of shit. So yeah, I definitely got some West Coast mountain experience. But you going through the mountains, man, you got to use your engine brake to preserve your tractor brakes. And old boy who I just brought up, I can only imagine, just thinking about it right now, man, he probably smoked his brakes out. Probably smoked his brakes out and didn't have no brakes. Shit, your brakes on fire. I don't know if his brakes was on fire, but man, he probably smoked his brakes out. Either that or he just didn't know what the fuck he was doing. So yeah, that's how you handle it, man. Hey, if you going too slow for other truck drivers, all the other super truckers put your hazard lights on and cruise down that motherfucking decline. Me personally, I don't give a fuck about no super trucker, none of that stupid shit. I don't care about none of that. Roll down at your own pace. It's about getting to where you going and making it back home alive. Don't let, whether it's snow, ice, driving down a mountain, don't let other truckers that might be flying past you, driving recklessly past you, don't let them influence you to make you feel like that's the way to go. Don't do that. You know, and then sometimes, you know, it's easier to drive through the mountains when you unload it, or when you light, when your trailer is empty. You know what I'm saying? You kind of can coast through the mountains. That shit is easy. But when you load it, fully loaded, yeah, you gotta be careful, you know, driving through the mountains. For real, for real. So, yeah, man, don't let, because I done drove through some snowstorms being influenced by other drivers around me, making me feel like, should I be driving through this shit? I remember I drove through a snowstorm going from Chicago to Wisconsin, man. That was the worst shit ever. I don't even know why I was on the road. I don't even know why I was on the road, man. Couldn't barely see shit. And truckers is driving past me, flying past me and that shit. You know, you know what I'm saying? Don't let this shit make you feel bad, or you know what I'm saying? Let that type of behavior and that type of driving make you feel like you ain't doing shit, because when a pileup happened, or if you pulled over to the side and did the right thing to practice your safety, and after you wake up and you get up and you get back out on the road, some of them same truckers that was flying past you and doing all that crazy shit, they're gonna be the same motherfuckers leaning on the side of the road in a ditch, potatoes everywhere, leaning like an old man in a Cadillac. You're gonna be looking like, how the fuck did that truck get bent up like that? Yeah, that's gonna be them. So, let the super truckers do what they gonna do. Let them. But that's about it. That's about it, man. So yeah, like I say, man, somebody requested that video. I figured that was an important topic. Man, y'all be safe out there, man, and keep trucking.